All right, your overbearing commander has assigned you the dubious task of determining the height of a tower upon which you will lay siege. Conveniently, the pendulum is hanging from the top of the tower to the ground. You measure that it takes 28.2 seconds to make 5 oscillations. How tall is the tower? In other words, how long is the string? So here's my tower. Here's my pendulum. I don't know how long it is. I do know the time it takes, 28.2 seconds. And I know it makes 5 oscillations. So, I want to find the length of the tower. So the equation is period is equal to 2 pi squared to L over G. If you're wondering what this P is here next to the T, that's just to remind you it's a pendulum, not a spring. So you don't get the two equations confused, because they're really easy to get confused. Okay? All right. So period is equal to 2 pi squared to L over G. So the first thing I do is put the period down, which is tempting to use 28.2, because that's the time. But that's the time to go 5, not the time to go once. Period's the time it takes to go once. So I need to take the 28.2 divided by 5. That gives me 5.64. So my period is 5.64 seconds. 2 pi square root of L over G, and G is 9.8 unless I tell you otherwise. So this is where people get confused and they're not really sure what to do. So what I do is I try to simplify things down by covering them up with my thumb. And I know this sounds kind of simple and childish, but what I do is I cover up the confusing thing with my thumb, and then I solve for my thumb. Okay? It's called the thumb method, and I made it up. Okay? It's terrific. So here's what I do. I look at this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this like square root of L9, that's just, I don't know what to, so cover it up. Just pretend it's not there. Solve for my thumb. How would I get my thumb by itself? I would divide the 2 pi to both sides. So remember, I always multiply 2 pi to 6.28. So 6.28 cancels the 2 pi. Divide by 6.28. So 5.64 divided by 6.28 is 0.898. Equals square root of L over 9.8. Again, this square root business is throwing me off. So I simplify it down one step more. So if I didn't have the L, if it was just square root of x, I could solve that. So I'm going to solve for the square root of my thumb. Okay, well, how do I do that? I just square both sides. I do the opposite of square rooting. So the opposite of square rooting is to square. So I would square both sides. And that gives me 0.806 equals L over 9.8. So I just replace what I had as my thumb with the stuff. So like when I had my thumb as square root of L over 9.8, then I changed the next one down to square root of L over 9.8. When I made my thumb L over 9.8, then the next part down is L over 9.8. Okay? So all that's left is just to multiply by 9.8. That's straightforward now. And there's my answer. The length is 7.9 meters. So hopefully that helps you a little bit with the math, because some of those math ones can be kind of challenging. Okay, any questions there? I'll leave this one up here so you can see it if you need to reference it or anything like that.